Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about the Wizards of the Coast Dungeons & Dragons official 2021 Best Dungeon Master Challenge. All right, so to determine who is the best Dungeon Master, so basically your entries are due on June 17th, 18th, and 19th for round one. You have to submit a 1,000 word entry. And today I'm going to give you some tips for how to make it punch through your competition and win. All right, so choosing your factions. This is how you're going to make your entry pop. Right, you have to choose your factions. So one of the things I do in my game to get a little bit of scale is I am the strong believer that you drop big events that are impacting multiple. You don't have to go the full scale of the world, but it should be a sizable portion of a realm. It should impact 1, 2, 3 villages, 1 city, 2 cities, right? Maybe it affects 10 cities, right? And basically there's a problem, XYZ problem, and your player characters are going to choose the winners, right? And what I mean by winners is there's going to be factions. So let's talk this through. What do we mean by there's going to be factions, right? So factions come in when Dungeons & Dragons has a weird history with factions. I think they don't. Dungeons & Dragons is the design team is incredibly woke, right? But the game is about combat, right? And then what's less woke than combat, right? So there's this dissonance. There's almost this schizophrenia when it comes to the Dungeons & Dragons design team. Right, because they know they have to put combat into the game. It's the only way the game engine runs. Okay, but and honestly, there's lots of places where they're like, oh, we have a non-combat system, and all the traditional conflicts aren't there, and everybody's like, that's great. 4 people will play that. Bye. So they know they need to put exciting combat in, but they also don't want it to be along traditional racial lines, right? And one of the biggest 3-pronged racial lines in Dungeons & Dragons is classic human, elf, dwarf. Elves are known to hate dwarves. Dwarves are known to hate elves. So, and then often, the humans win because those other two are fighting against each other. It's a very classic dynamic within Dungeons & Dragons. And I think if you're going to win this, you need to break away from that, right? So how do you break away from that, right? You need to choose factions. And you are going to choose your factions across lineage lines. So the traditional lineage lines would be human, elf, dwarf, right? In yours, you're not going to do that. Do not do human, dwarf, elf. You are going to have human, turtle constructs, right? That's a good breakdown, right? Now, the reality is you're going to need to have humans in there. Why do you have to have humans as one of the traditional lineages? Well, we are human, right? And so it needs to be relatable. I think you need to leave humans in because, if you go ASMR, turtle, construct, it's going to be alien, right? And where are the players going to align, right? Now, the nice thing is, if you put humans in, most players will play against type. They'll be like, we're going to support the turtles. Forget the humans. And they like pushing against the wall. People like to push against the wall. And everybody thinks, oh, there should be no wall. Well, that doesn't work. We've seen this time and time again. One of the biggest things that I remember is the Occupy Wall Street. They're like, there should be no walls. There should be no, leaders. We don't need hierarchy, right? They failed in every goal they set, and they are forgotten today. Nothing was achieved there, right? And the reason why is there has to be a wall. You can push against the wall, right? You can hold the wall up. There's got to be a wall. And I think humans are the wall. Like they're you're going to have humans, and then you're going to have turtles, and you're going to have constructs. Now you can mix it up, right? You can go human, ASMR, Genasi, right? You can go human, dragonborn, tiefling. That's 3 good mixes, right? And then once you have those factions set, right? I think what will help you is you can't have a clearly evil faction. You have to have 3 factions all who have a good standing and an equal right to want to achieve X. And it needs to be clear what they're going to achieve, and it needs to be clear how, so the humans have to have a goal, the turtles have to have a goal, the constructs have to have a goal. They could be all going toward the same goal, and then what's going to differ is their methods of getting there, their resources that they have, right? And then in your 1,000 word adventure, right, which isn't going to be a word over 1,000, you need to so you're getting there, right? And you're in your adventure, you're going to have these factions. And because when you say turtle, everybody knows what you mean. When you say human, everybody knows what you mean. When you say construct, everybody knows what you mean. Warforged type, creature, right? You can even put the Warforged in, right? And I think when you write your adventures, feel free to use exact races, exact classes, exact feats, right from Dungeons and Dragons. They're going to reward that. You don't need to be careful about it. In this area, you could use them. You can put them right into your content, right? And I think it's really going to work. But your factions need to be unique. Don't go down the traditional elf-dwarf human role. Choose 3 factions, lineage-based. I think I'm literally going to choose human, turtle, and Warforged for mine, right? And then once you have your faction set, you want to put them in positions where they're all going near a goal, and then you're going to let the player characters choose the winner. And actually, they're not going to be able to choose the winner 100%, but they are going to be able to choose the winner 80%. Essentially, the player characters are going to choose a faction, and then once they go in with that faction, they're going to be able to push with that faction, and that faction, because the player characters chose them, is going to get a base 65% chance to win, at the end, right? And then how the player characters execute should range that up to 75%, maybe up to as much as 85%, but then you roll the dice and you let it show, right? Like basically you really stack the cards for your player characters, right? But there are cards in the deck where the characters lose. There's got to be risk. There's got to be a chance of loss for there to have meaning. Like all that's there. That's my advice. That's my advice for how you can win the official Wizards of the Coast Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master 2021 Dungeon Master Challenge. All that's my opinion. How do you plan to win? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.